Okay, we're back and we're going to have a reading from A Christmas Cannoli Kiss. You can see the cover here. It's really cute. And then I think after that, maybe we'll have you tell us about some of your other books. You've already given us quite a nice picture of Dangerous Conjurings, and we'll talk a little bit about your other novels. But
O-
first, why don't you read from this?
Okay, here is the beginning of A Christmas Cannoli Kiss, which is a sweet, closed door contemporary romance. Chapter 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pittsburgh. The local time is 4:13 p.m. and the temperature is a chilly 34 degrees with light snow. Thank you for flying with us. Isabella's heart knocked against her chest, thumping in time with the tires as the plane taxied to the gate. She stashed her purchase of the latest thriller from the Miami airport bookstore into her handbag before craning her neck to peer out the window. At the sight of snow, little girl excitement chased through her. A white Christmas to welcome her return after living in balmy Florida could not be more perfect. The plane's sudden lurch to a stop jostled Isabella. The same flight attendant's voice came across the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened while we wait for a gate. We apologize for the delay. The older lady seated at the window seat awakened and stretched her body long. Isabella preferred napping seat partners like hers, snores and all. She dreaded when initial chit-chat with a stranger droned on, keeping her from reading. Mobile phones came to life. Voices rose through the cabin in one-way conversations. Isabella moved hers off airplane mode and scrolled through the group text she started with her close friends that morning. They'd filled the thread with celebratory welcome home messages containing clapping hands, party hats, and thumbs up emojis, each text bursting with confetti, balloons, or other fun effects. Isabella hoped their excited responses meant they'd forgiven her abrupt departure after she accepted her company's transfer to Miami 2 years ago. She hadn't meant to worry those she held dear. Their reactions about her relocation had been upsetting. It's so soon after losing your parents to make your major life decision. You shouldn't live alone, away from those who grieve the loss of Dottie and Rico with you. The neighborhood won't be the same without the Lorenzo family. None understood how the most shattering experiences of her life so deeply affected her. Too many memories resided in every corner of Pittsburgh, especially her Little Italy neighborhood of Bloomfield and the intersection where the fatal car accident happened. She needed emotional space, and the job in Miami provided it. The time away helped. She gained perspective about loss in life. Two things resonated most true. One, grief found you, no matter where you lived. Two, life was too short not to pursue your dream, whatever it might be. What better time than now to chase hers? No entanglements claimed her, not even a pet. Frugal living and a small inheritance meant she could afford a short employment sabbatical from being a brand manager while she explored a career change, a life change, really. Her now awake seat partner engaged in a loud phone call regarding where to meet her ride. Isabella continued swiping through her texts, trying to ignore the woman's annoyed tone. Thank heaven I rented a car. I don't have to coordinate with anyone for a ride. Plus, I'll see the sights of my home city while driving to Beth's house. When the woman clicked off her cell, Isabella lifted a silent hallelujah. Closing her text, she smiled at the screensaver photo of her with Beth and their other girlfriends taken in Las Vegas at the bachelorette trip a couple of months ago. Not everyone remained best friends forever with those from childhood, and she counted herself fortunate. She loved this candid shot, snapped by a stranger they'd asked to take it. The Vegas trip marked the sole time she'd been with her friends since her move to Miami. They stood bunched together in the hotel's pool. Anna and Kate and bride-to-be Jen stood in the middle, all three model tall and blonde. She and Beth, two petite brunettes, bookended the group. Isabella stared at herself in the photo for a moment. At age 32, she would hold the title Last Single Girl Standing after Jen's wedding in 2 weeks on New Year's Eve. That fact did not bother her. While she hoped for someone with whom to share her life someday, She embraced the philosophy of better alone and happy with yourself than unhappy with the wrong someone. I know about wrong someones. Steve, great guy, but not my forever one. Memories of the broken engagement prompted Isabella to focus once again on the couple seated one row up and across the aisle. When they boarded, laughing and flirting with each other, she'd noticed they wore matching college sweatshirts, like Steve and she always wore. She used to regale everyone about how Steve and she met through an act of serendipity, arriving at the college employment office at the same time during their senior year to schedule interviews. He was young Tom Hanks cute and easygoing. They fell into dating, which progressed to a live together, drama free relationship. She accepted his proposal as if on autopilot. Isabella rested her head back, breathing against the stuffiness of the cabin and the bittersweetness of her memories. Perspiration beaded upon her upper lip the way it did on that day she tried on wedding dresses in front of the bridal store mirror. Instead of exhilaration, her face reflected resignation. How could she ignore that stark revelation? She couldn't say yes to the dress or marriage. Steve thanked her a year later after he married his true soulmate. He found his happily ever after. The plane resumed its taxi to the gate, jolting Isabella out of her memories of the wedding that never happened. She lifted her face toward the welcoming airflow streaming from the vent overhead before fishing in her purse for her cosmetic pouch. Isabella touched the jewelry box she'd placed in it for safekeeping during her move. Her throat closed and she blinked against welling tears. Maybe one day I'll be able to wear this necklace. She pulled out her compact tube of lipstick and small hairbrush and redirected her attention to refreshing her makeup and running a brush through her thick hair. With a sigh, she snapped shut the compact and returned the items to the pouch, resigned to looking travel-weary. Isabella tossed the pouch in her bag and shifted in her seat, wondering if the plane would ever reach the gate. She gazed at that couple once again. They were in a long kiss, their passion for each other pulsating through the cabin toward her. I want that in a relationship. Zing, not settling for any man in order to sport a ring on my left hand. Attending Jen's wedding without a +1 didn't faze her. However, she did quake with fear over her agreement to bake Dottie's legendary cannoli cookies for the reception's cookie table, a Pittsburgh wedding tradition. She once again checked inside her handbook for the recipe to assure herself she hadn't lost it. It dated back to Isabella's maternal great-great-grandmother, Isabella de Rosa, whose first name she shared. The family matriarch recorded the cookie recipe in her spidery cursive for her daughter Francesca to bring to America. It made its way to Mom and now her. Isabella's stomach swirled at the thought of the baking task ahead. Her friends joked she couldn't turn out edible cookies from store-bought dough. Why did she believe she could produce Mom's famous cannoli ones? Not even Angie Fontana's tasted as fabulous. Thinking about Angie calmed Isabella's insides. Purchasing Angie's canola cookies from Fontana's Corner Bakery would be her backup if hers ended in disaster. She couldn't wait to see the Fontanas again. Sal and Angie were the grandparents she'd never known. In their 80s, they remained dynamos, rising at dawn 6 days a week to bake their delicious breads, pastries, and cookies. When she told them of her move back, she knew their joy for her decision. She knew from the joy of their joy that her decision was the right one. The pilot guided the plane into its assigned bay. Passengers sprang into action before the forward motion ceased. Isabella caught their sense of urgency to disembark. She unfastened her seatbelt, sidestepped into the aisle, and donned her winter puffer coat. Its weight felt like an anchor after 2 years of wearing light clothing. She moved the clothes shopping trip to the top of her long to-do list. In her anticipation of visits home, she kept the coat, the fur-lined boots on her feet, and a select few winter outfits, including the knit sweater and skinny corduroy pants she wore. Her workaholic Miami lifestyle consumed her. Vacation time went unused, trips home never happened. Her body and mind needed this respite from obligation. After zipping her coat, Isabella opened the overhead bin and yanked at her suitcase. It didn't budge. Someone had crammed a too large bag into the overhead compartment against hers. How did you get away with jamming this monstrosity in here? The flight attendant should have made you check it. Her seat partner relocated to the edge of Isabella's seat. She resembled a runner at the start line, crouched for a fast takeoff. Sorry, Isabella pressed her lips into a tight grin. I'll be out of your way in a minute. She tugged once more with force on her bag, sending it plunging toward her head. Duck! Isabella instinctively obeyed the order barked by the man behind her. His muscular arm flew out to block the suitcase's downward trajectory. He wrestled it to the cabin floor. Wow, thanks. Isabella gazed into the twinkling blue eyes of a tall and fantastically good-looking man. He wore an attractive scruff of beard and an engaging smile. A leather messenger briefcase hung across his broad shoulders. Have I been knocked unconscious? Time traveled into my past? I know this guy. Who forgets their first crush? Nate? Nate Elliott? Yes, he stared for an overlong moment. Isabella Lorenzo? I can't believe it.
That's excellent. And there you have it.